Hey guys, it's your pal Joey.T. from the Cartoon.P giving you a editorial? Yeah, I didn't have any trailers to watch this week, and I didn't see a film anytime recently outside of The Incredibles 2, so I figured there was something going on in the news that I wanted to talk about. So this isn't a news report, it's an editorial, meaning that I'm going to be talking about my opinion. If you want to get the facts, there are links below, but I want to focus on my opinion. So don't go straight for the facts when it comes to this video, I'm just giving you my impressions. So with that said, let's talk about John Lasseter. So it was revealed last year that John Lasseter has been pretty creepy on the set of Pixar. What I mean specifically is that he's been inappropriately touching women to the point where he went onto a sabbatical, which then ultimately led to him leaving Pixar. This is all being a part of the Me Too movement, which focuses on inappropriate actions taken by filmmakers against women. And it's important to know this because all this has been going on for years, but there's never been a public platform for these women until now, which is why it makes it so important. We got Harvey Weinstein, Matt Lauer, and even to the internet with Andy Signore from Screen Junkies, and now John Lasseter. And you could also throw in Chris Savino when it comes to the Loud House. I know we're in a day and age where a lot of times the artist cannot be separated from the man, but when you hear reports about him inappropriately touching women, kissing, and even grabbing women, you know you gotta draw the line somewhere, especially when you're in the workplace. You know, if it doesn't look right, it most likely isn't right. So for the most part, I only think it's great. I am going to say though, as an artist, John Lasseter did bring a lot to Pixar and even Disney when he was brought on to be the CCO. Hope I'm getting that right. CCO. Yep, the CCO of Walt Disney Animation, which he even rebranded as Walt Disney Animation. He was asked to be the new CCO of Disney at around 2006. He went to the creation of Meet the Robinsons, and going forward, he decided that he wanted to incorporate more innovation into animation. In some ways, it was him who strived to bring 2D animation back for a short period until it was brought out because, well, wasn't making as much money. But you know, you gotta give him some credit there. He was also part of bringing in Disney Toon Animation, not necessarily creating it, but just sort of giving it a bigger push. All at the same time while being the CCO at Pixar. As a result of these investigations, Lasseter is out, and they have new people involved as CCO. Not one person like Lasseter, but they've got two separate people. At Pixar, you got Pete Docter, and at Disney, you got Jennifer Lee. And upon hearing this news, I was very excited. I thought it was really cool. But then when I really thought about it, there were some things that I had some second doubts about. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit. For starters, I think it's great that Pete Docter, someone who's worked at Pixar from the very beginning, in the interviews he stated that he's been at Pixar since, 3 decades. Like way before they were making feature films, he was doing the shorts and the commercials with Pixar. But most importantly, Pete Docter is a part of the Brain Trust. Much like Disney's Nine Old Men, where you have the original animators way back when Disney was making his first feature films, you have Pixar's Brain Trust, which are the people who have been making the films way before they were making films, and as I mentioned before, making the shorts and making the commercials. So I think it's great that Pete Docter's up for this role. He's been with the company for 28 years, which I can attest for anybody. The fact that you've been working at the same company for 28 years shows that you are pretty passionate. I mean, I think a lot of people, even myself, have a hard time holding up the same job within the same company for like a year or two. He's been doing it for 28 years. What's your excuse? And now you have Jennifer Lee, who's running the show at Disney, who was on board working at Disney at around 2011 when she was co-writing Wreck-It Ralph and then directing Frozen. We all know what happened after that. Film's a mega hit. We're going to be having a Broadway show soon enough. So we owe most of that to Lee. And I think that's great, but I've got one little doubt. The big thing is that Jennifer Lee comes from a screenwriting background, but not necessarily an animation background. And I know a lot of people have brought up that she's worked with animators long enough to understand how the process works, co-directing a film, and very clearly you could see that in the final product. For the most part, but I just feel like when you have filmmakers who come in from a background that doesn't necessarily focus on animation, the product doesn't always work. The thing is though, as a lot of people have said, that's not the case. Frozen works to a certain degree. I actually think one of the problems I had with Frozen is the dialogue, a little bit too self-aware, a little bit too modern, and a little bit reliant on what's popular now, which is probably why it will probably have a hard time standing the test of time as most of the other Disney classics. I could be completely wrong. I think the film is still great. All I'm saying is that in the grand scheme of things, I just don't think that film, and even the films that came out afterwards, will stand the test of time as much as what the other Disney classics has done. And to me, having Jennifer Lee run the show at things might just keep things, the same. But at the same time, I'm still reassured because she's still a really good filmmaker. It's just that in regards to leading animation, you have to, I just feel like you have to be an animator. That's just my opinion. That's my impressions. You can disagree with me. You can fight me on that. That's just how I feel. Whereas you look at what John Lasseter did for Disney Animation, a lot of the choices he made were in favor of what the artist wanted to do. Hence why the films that came out since Meet the Robinsons have done as well as they did. I know a lot of people don't really talk about Meet the Robinsons as being a classic, but the more you talk to people about it, there are a lot of significance to that film. I could be 100% wrong. Lee could be batting this out of the park. But also remember, too, it was John Lasseter's decision to go in this creative direction, which then led to Lee being hired. So maybe a little bit of that synergy might come into play when Lee is working at Disney. Again, 100% wrong. I just kind of wish they got someone with an animation background like Brenda Chapman or even, one of the original animators from the Disney Renaissance to do it. I think it's go really great. Let's not address the elephant in the room that you have a female CCO at Disney. I don't even think we've had a female CCO at Disney since the very beginning. In animation, probably not. You got that one person from Nickelodeon that recently left who was a woman. And I think it's great because you have more inclusion. And I think it is also pretty good. The more I'm thinking about it, is that it's being brought in from the company, from within the company. Just kind of wish they got someone who has been with the company longer than 2011. I feel like someone who, was with the company since the 90s, that would be pretty cool. But, that's just my impression. That's just what I feel about the whole thing. I've got big feelings about where they're going to go with Disney, and I feel somewhat reassured. Definitely for Pixar, though. Seeing Pete Docter go in, a very genuine person. If you've seen the behind the scenes when it comes to Inside Out and what he did for the making of that film, you know that he's a very passionate animator. And it's good to see him being involved in this sort of way with Pixar. A company he's worked with 28 years. That's a big commitment. So those are my thoughts on this. Let me know what you think. I don't want to be too divisive, but that's just my impressions on the whole thing. Just as a heads up, next week I'm probably not going to be posting as many videos because I'll be going on vacation. And if I post videos, it's probably going to be unedited videos due to not having an editing source based on where I'm going to be going for vacation. So like I said, comment below. Let me know what you think. Click that subscribe button if you want to see more of this content. The like button if you actually like this stuff. Let me know what you think. Take care, everybody.